One of the most anticipated video games in history released last year, to the dissatisfaction and satisfaction of millions. That game is Cyberpunk 2077. Many are already familiar with the game's hype, but for those unfamiliar, here's a few numbers to demonstrate the game's scale. The game has sold more than 13 million copies since its launch, and its earnings thus far already cover for developing the game. Overall, even with a rocky launch, the game has been financially successful. This is interesting news, and vindication of the continued march towards video games being the preeminent form of entertainment. But what about the company behind the game? In this video, we will examine the history of CD Projekt and how a company from humble beginnings went on to develop iconic franchises and one of the most anticipated games in history. The Polish company was founded in 1994 by Marcin Lewinsky and Michael Kowinski as a game distributor importing games from the US. To understand this company, though, requires a review of Poland and Marcin's early experience during his formative years. Marcin grew up in Warsaw, Poland, during a period when the socialist control over the country began to loosen. Initially, trips to surrounding European nations such as Eastern Germany being granted to citizens. As restrictions gave way further, Marcin took his first Western trip by visiting Sweden. Upon his arrival in Sweden, Marcin and his family went to a supermarket, with the experience leaving a considerable impression on him. Marcin remarked how jarring it was to observe so much abundance concentrated in one area, contrasting to the life Marcin became accustomed to in Poland, with many items being imported and therefore prohibitively expensive. Marcin noted how the West seemingly had everything, leaving him to ponder why Poland did not either. Initially, the gaming industry in Warsaw was niche, with the small community exchanging the titles they had with each other. As interest in gaming expanded, Marcin noticed an opportunity to provide games to the Polish market on a large scale. Since Marcin could not develop games on his own, he decided to begin exchanging games with people in other countries, instead of simply exchanging games with locals. Through this strategy, Marcin was able to obtain games that no one else in Poland had, making himself the go-to seller in the market, the king of the hill as he referred to this position. As technology advanced, Marcin was able to download games directly from the internet, which expedited the process of obtaining new games, further entrenching himself as a foremost seller. The legality of this was murky at the time. Although explicitly illegal in the Western world with copyright laws, none of the laws that protected intellectual property applied in Poland. Essentially, Marcin identified an arbitrage and leveraged his country's absent IP laws to provide a product to the market that people wanted. As Poland was emerging from socialism, the copyright laws were enacted in Poland, coinciding with the incorporation of CD Projekt in 1994. Together, Marcin and his partner Michael began distributing games they imported, making their endeavors now more legitimate. At the time, floppy disks were still widely used in Poland, but CD-ROMs had considerably more memory than floppy disk. This was a true revolution for gaming. The first game they imported, which is still available on their digital gaming marketplace, is Seventh Guess. The next step in the company's journey was to involve itself in game development by localizing games for the Polish market. The company's first game was the 1996 adventure title Ace Ventura. After successfully localizing the game, other deals followed. Localizing proved to be a pillar of the company as it became more established. With the company's reputation expanding, they received an agreement to publish Baldur's Gate, a pivotal moment for the company. CDP hired famous Polish actors for narration and developed a collector's edition experience with elaborate design and artwork, which the company remains renowned for. Agreeing to this deal was a strategic bet. Either the company would succeed tremendously selling Baldur's Gate, or it would bankrupt the company. The company's agreement initially called for 3,000 units. Fixed orders for the game, when announced, were 18,000, far exceeding the originally specified available units of 3,000. They were able to develop 8,000 units, selling those out immediately, and eventually sold 50,000 units within the first year. Prior to this success, their best-selling game was around 1,000 to 2,000 units. Baldur's Gate was foreshadow into the success that awaited the company. With CD Projekt distribution segment producing steady profits for the company, and Marston realizing the value of diversifying the company, the idea of developing their own games began to emerge. When deciding to branch into game development, the idea of licensing IP instead of creating it was offered during internal meetings. This led to the adaptation and licensing of The Witcher. Developing this game proved difficult, with CDP ultimately launching its development studio, CD Projekt Red, to handle production internally. Eventually, the company was granted approval by BioWare, a company known for its RPG games, to license their engine for The Witcher. BioWare went even further by providing space for CDPR at their booth to advertise their game, generating significant traffic to CDPR in the development of The Witcher. Since releasing The Witcher, the company has launched 2 main sequels, with the series selling over 50 million copies. In the process, the company expanded by launching a digital distribution platform for games called GOG, and has recently released Cyberpunk 2077. From a small company started by 2 people with a passion for video games, to its current status as a coveted storyteller and acclaimed game developer, CD Projekt is now one of the giants in the gaming industry. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more content. The history of this company is fascinating, and I provided additional links in the description if you would like to learn more about the company's history. Thanks for watching. Until next time.